it's just heart-wrenching, what young people are going through. So we wanted to be there to support them, and we joined the line, and it just felt like it was the right thing we had to do.
And I want to know how these charges impact your campaign moving forward. Does that make any issues, any hurdles for you? Is that something that you're going to lean on and say, hey, I was at a protest, I got arrested, and this is what I'm still fighting for on the ballot? How does this change anything?
I don't think it really changes things, except to show that we are not hypocrites, and that we are really putting our money where our mouth is, that is behind students and young people, and really supporting their moral authority to lead us forward on this issue. Because it's young people, who are going to bear the consequences of this. We basically have an expanding war right now, and Netanyahu has been given a license essentially to be the commander-in-chief, because he's been assured that he will be backed. The U.S. is continuing to shower him with basically a blank check and unlimited amounts of money, and he's trying to embroil us in a war with Iran. This is absolutely outrageous. It is a betrayal of the responsibility of the president to be passing the baton to Bibi Netanyahu, who is not accountable in any way to American voters, and he's making critical life and death decisions for even American troops by the tens of thousands who are, in the Middle East right now, who are being made vulnerable by all of this. So, it just felt like we have to stand up and call this out, and that's what our campaign will continue to do. We are doing this election to ensure that the American people have a choice in the voting booth, that we're not just going to be presented with actually 3 pro-war, pro-genocide candidates between Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and RFK, who pretends to be a peace candidate, but who is all for basically the abuses of the Israeli government and makes no bones about it. And in fact, he is probably the most aggressive Zionist among the group. Yet he is petitioning actually outside of the pro-Palestinian encampments, representing his petitioners are representing his campaign as though it was a campaign for Palestinian rights. By no means, it's exactly the opposite. So, we're here to hold their feet to the fire and to give the American people what they are clamoring for, which is a real choice with political integrity that will stand up for the peaceful future that we deserve.
Probably my last question for you, Dr. Stein.
Sure.
How does this change your perspective of St. Louis? How much longer are you going to be in the city? Obviously, it's been a very long day. We're now into Sunday since it's almost 2 o'clock.
Yes.
How does this change your perception of St. Louis? And of course, how much longer do we get to host you for?
I think the overwhelming impression is that the students here are just inspirational. They have so much integrity. They really are, exemplary citizens who are raising the bar for what we must do, because what happens in Gaza doesn't stay in Gaza. Are we going to normalize the murder and torture of children on an industrial scale? Are we going to dismantle international law and human rights? That's the stakes, and leave it to the students here in this university to hold a really peaceful, exemplary rally where there's education going on and wonderful inspired speakers. So it was a really uplifting experience, and I think our universities are being challenged now fundamentally. Who are they for? Are they for war contractors and a future that will destroy all of us and impoverish us? Or are they going to uphold principles of democracy that our colleges and universities are supposed to represent? And I think the students are doing a heroic and courageous job of posing these issues and this challenge to our universities and really to our whole society.
Her calm demeanor has endeared her to many, particularly given her ability to maintain composure despite the potential trauma of her arrest. This resilience isn't surprising, as she has faced similar situations before. In August 1st, 2012, STEIN, alongside Honkala and 3 others, was arrested during a sit-in at a Philadelphia bank, protesting housing foreclosures on behalf of struggling city residents. Again, on October 16th, STEIN and Honkala were arrested when they attempted to enter the site of a presidential debate at Hofstra University, protesting the exclusion of smaller political parties, such as the Green Party, from the debates. STEIN drew parallels between her arrest and the persecution of dissidents like Sergei Udaltsov in Russia. Further highlighting her commitment to activism, on October 31st, STEIN was arrested in Texas for criminal trespass. Her offense? Attempting to deliver food and supplies to environmental activists of the tar sands blockade, who were protesting the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline from tree camps. However, this arrest is not new, but rings differently.
I'm just coming out of jail, so I don't know what my hair is doing.
This will be a very easy first question because I don't have to ask you to spell your first and last name or tell me what your title is, because we know all that stuff. Looking good, Sam? Okay, take a breather. How long, well, I'm going to ask this as well. Let's start with this. Dr. STEIN, when you're coming out, how long were you in there for? What was it like when you were in the St. Louis County Jail?
It was kind of scary, to tell you the truth, because I got separated from the rest of the crowd, and it initially felt like there was a lot of safety in numbers, but then it turned out that I was being charged with assault after being assaulted by a bicycle and basically thrown onto my head backwards. I was charged with assaulting a police officer. Can you believe it? And so I got separated out, and I was alone going through this whole other process where I was going through a medical exam. I had, regular steel handcuffs put on and sat a long time sitting alone in a cell. And I had no idea, did anybody even know I was there? I had been separated from my team. And, was I going to be there all night? Was I going to be there for a week? What's going on, and when could I call my lawyer? So I was just completely led through this process, completely blind. And I'm really glad that, we got out. What time were we brought in? When did we get arrested? My guess is around 7:30, something like that, and finally got out at around 1:30 or 1:45, something like that.
So quite a long time. Obviously, you were not here to have all of this happen. You were here, as I'm assuming, to campaign, talk to people in St. Louis.
And to get on the ballot so that voters could have a choice, so that, the American public opposes the genocide, wants an immediate ceasefire and a diplomatic solution. So we want to get that on the ballot. We want a pro-worker campaign to be on the ballot. We want an anti-war campaign and a climate emergency campaign. We are the only campaign that actually represents all of those issues. So we have a lot to fight for to enable the American people to have a choice, and the American people are clamoring for a choice. They don't want these two zombie candidates rammed down their throat again, and by huge majorities, Americans want other choices. So we want to provide that choice. We have to jump through all kinds of hoops for Americans to be able to exercise, basic democracy in the voting booth. We have to collect, I don't know what it is, something like 10,000 signatures total in Missouri in order to get on the ballot. So if people want to be sure that you have an actual choice on the ballot, you can contact either our campaign, JillStein2024.com, or get in touch with the Missouri Green Party to help with that drive.
Meanwhile, amidst ongoing efforts to dismantle their encampments, students persist in protesting against the Gaza war